You're listening to the Mid-Career GPS podcast, episode 74.
Well, I knew in 2019 that I absolutely was not living to my fullest potential. And I just knew that something had to change. I felt like my soul was dying. I felt like I couldn't play the political game anymore because it was just all based on basic ingenuity and lack of authenticity. And I was being led to do something different. I didn't quite know what, but I just kept listening.
That inner voice inside your head is talking to you about your career path and where it's going. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're here because you want to figure out whatever is next for you professionally. But something's holding you back from getting the results you want. It's time to show up and own where you are. In today's episode, I'm talking to the CEO and founder of Best You Career Advantage, Shelly Johnson. We'll help you break through whatever's holding you back from getting the results you want, face your fears, and help you have a career that lives up to your fullest potential. This is the Mid-Career GPS podcast, and I'm your host, John Nerrell. I'm here to help you find the job you'll love or love the job you have. It's time to start building your mid-career GPS. So let's get started. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed my previous episode where I highlighted some of the best networking strategies and tips my guests have shared this year. It was a really fun episode to pull together, and I'll make sure to link it up in the show notes to make it easier for you to go back and listen. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the show on your favorite platform. And if you haven't had a chance to leave me a rating and review, kindly do so on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Share what you enjoy about the podcast and how it's helping you navigate your mid-career journey. As 2021 comes to a close, it's only natural to evaluate how this year has gone for you. What have been some of your greatest achievements this year? And what are some of the things that didn't come to fruition or goals that perhaps you may have just fallen a bit short on achieving? Now, I recently sat down with Shelly Johnson to talk about living to your fullest potential. Shelly is a first-generation college graduate with limiting beliefs, fear, and dysfunction. Through faith, resilience, grit, and determination, Shelly achieved executive leadership roles in talent acquisition and human resources at Fortune 50 companies that included Comcast, Lockheed Martin, Quest Diagnostics, and Honeywell. She has lived and worked in Asia and Latin America, acquired her MBA, and speaks Spanish and English. Today, she helps high achievers and diversity allies discover and amplify their strengths and purpose to realize abundance in their careers and lives. But like all of us, our younger selves had different aspirations. Shelly's got an interesting one.
Well, I think younger, John, I wanted to be a travel agent because I just watched all these shows and I loved Jacques Cousteau and I loved adventure. And so I wanted to kind of like help people travel. And then as I continued to grow up, I don't think I'd fully grown up. I wanted to be the winner of The Amazing Race. You know, that nice. TV show?
I do know that show, yeah.
I applied for that show twice, and I still want to be the winner of The Amazing Race. So traveling around the world, seeing, doing physical things and really kind of living that adventure.
Growing up, when I would take those vocational tests, travel agent always came up for me. And it's funny because now we don't even really think of that so much as the career and what it used to be. Now we just hop online and book our own travel. But I've quickly become a fan of the show Ghosts. And in a recent episode, Pete, he is the Cub Scout leader. He's got the arrow through his neck. And he talked about being a travel agent, was really frustrated that it was not really a career anymore. But travel agents are people who help. They help people get to where they want to go. And coaching is a great segue into that. You'll get a sense throughout this episode that Shelly, she's a go-getter. She's got this adventurous spirit. And so it's no wonder that a show like The Amazing Race appeals to her.
So Amazing Race, my friend Dan and I applied for that twice, but we never got asked back. I thought for sure we would have like the over 40 thing, the LGBTQ market thing, and like the diversity thing, but no, that just did not happen.
So you're gonna apply again?
I don't know. I have to find the right partner.
So Dan's not willing to do it anymore, huh?
No, he wants to move to the Philippines. Okay. So
if any of you out there have aspirations to be on The Amazing Race, Shelly's looking for a partner. I love how Shelly's sense of adventure is fun and motivating for her. We need these things at mid-career to give us some sense of fun outside of all the hard work we do each day. The mid-career journey, it's exciting and it's also complex. We've talked before on this podcast about those mid-career moments that define us and cause us to pivot or change directions along our career path. Like all of us, there is some kind of event that changes us. I asked Shelly to share her thoughts about the mid-career journey and what she sees as important for people right now heading into 2022.
What I find is that most people have gone through their education and they've had some preliminary success, and now they're getting into, having kids and living a different chapter and a different stage in their life. And mid-career, they're kind of looking for their purpose because what they thought they wanted, they don't get the same level of satisfaction from and value from that they did before. They want career development. They want and are seeking higher level opportunities for professional development. They want to make a difference in the world and in their local communities. And they're not willing to stay stagnant and be a drone, especially now. I think the Great Resignation is actually the great rebrand for mid-career.
We talked before about the Great Resignation in episode 63, and many of you resonated with that episode. This year's been a reawakening of things we want and what we don't want in our lives and careers. But how do we make those changes? For Shelly's clients, it's about finding ways to survive and thrive.
They don't live to work, they work to survive. And it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's really about a more holistic view for the mid-career and above. So that's really what I see with my clients that are in this space.
One of the most powerful motivators at mid-career is that you don't want to feel stuck or trapped in a job you don't love and aren't able to do your best work. You want to make a difference, an impact, and be appropriately compensated for it. I asked Shelly her thoughts about her clients at mid-career, and she shared some interesting steps that they've taken around self-care and how they're filling their tanks at this time.
John, that absolutely resonates with me. I work with a lot of people who feel like they're stuck or lost. And when I say people don't want to be a drone anymore, it's not the employers who are calling the shots. It's the employees. I work with people that have, made vans and bought vans, put in working desks and showers that go outside, and people are camping and they're living differently, and they're living out of their RV, and they're traveling, and they're taking self-sabbaticals. I have a few clients that are on 6-month self-sabbaticals. One of them is in IT and a computer scientist, and he just moved to Colorado from Connecticut. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to live here for 7 months, and I'm going to ski 3 times a week. And when I'm not skiing, I'm going to go to workout classes and enjoy my life. And so he's like, if you know any furniture, let me know. But people are living differently.
Do you know anyone who's done that? Perhaps you've taken some much needed time to recharge your internal battery. When needed, there is nothing wrong in taking a mental health day. I remember taking those days throughout my career. And as a business owner, I still do. If I don't feel as if I can play at 100%, I have to ask myself, why not? What's getting in the way? And that usually means I'm in need of some kind of break. I'm sure you've heard the analogy that some professionals feel as if they're on a hamster wheel and they can't get off of it. So, how do you get off that hamster wheel?
So the hamster wheel can be defined in a lot of different ways. And I think it goes back to the well-known definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and over, yet expecting different results. And so many people, anywhere from higher education to the company's been stable, those type of corporate environments is where you are finding that your soul feels like it's being crushed, or you feel disconnected, or you feel stuck or lost or stressed, burned out, overwhelmed, whatever verb you want to use that could describe that. And the way that you get off of that is, first of all, you have to be willing to take a few risks. And it's very hard to do by yourself. Now, I will say that this is a candidate's market, and I have had at least 7 clients land in the past 2 months. Mm-hmm. But to get off of that wheel is to change your mindset and to actually lean into what is called mental fitness.
Our minds are powerful tools. Often we never tap into our brain's fullest potential and power to help us achieve the things we want. Based on my coach training, I've shared that our thoughts create feelings. Those feelings create actions, and those actions create results. For Shelly and her training, she's a big proponent about mental fitness.
Mental fitness is just like physical fitness, except it's for mental health. If you were going to climb a steep mountain and you were not physically fit, you would be lingering. You would not be able to get to the top of that mountain. Mental fitness is about having that resistance to and agility and grit and determination, and quieting all of those sabotaging thoughts like disengagement, resentment, fear, judging, being critical, etc. And really focusing on how do you navigate away from those hijacking and sabotaging thoughts.
Mental fitness is a concept that is part of the Positive Intelligence Program, a program developed by Shirzad Sharmin, and I'll link their website in the show notes. Shelly is certified in positive intelligence and uses those concepts to help her clients break through the limiting beliefs and blocks that are holding them back from achieving their fullest potential. Here, we talk about the characteristics and traits people need to be mentally fit to handle being on as well as getting off of the hamster wheel.
Consistency, it takes your vision and purpose, it takes mental fitness. And it also takes a lot of courage to do that. And a lot of people lose their courage because they have felt so disconnected, disillusioned by the whole political environment or of their business, or they're not aligned to the values of their business anymore, or they're working for a toxic boss.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, so many people are working for toxic bosses because those bosses are also burnt out. And those bosses also feel like they're on a hamster wheel. So trying to maintain employee morale and productivity and inclusivity during the past 19 months has been extra challenging.
It's okay if you're on the hamster wheel. Sometimes that happens. This conversation is about helping you be more aware of when you're on it and how well it's serving you to live your fullest potential. As younger professionals, we often spend a lot of time on the hamster wheel because we're in that place where we're growing our careers to a place that's going to help set us up for greater success as we get older and progress along our mid-career journey. But our career paths are messy and they're also personal. We have those moments that shake us and make us realize that things aren't where we want them to be. And that inner voice, it starts talking to us. I asked Shelly what that was like for her.
Well, I knew in 2019 that I absolutely was not living to my fullest potential. And I just knew that something had to change. I felt like my soul was dying. I felt like I couldn't play the political game anymore because it was just all based on basic just ingenuity and lack of authenticity. And I was being led to do something different. I didn't quite know what, but I just kept listening and following the signs that were put in front of me and talking to people and truly knowing in my heart that I could not go back to what I was doing because that hamster wheel was starting to get really uncomfortable and start huge stress and physical and health and mental issues, just mental health of sadness and depression and, things like that. So I'm still unpacking some of that corporate life, sure. But I absolutely feel like I am living to my full potential when I can be completely present and I can help someone unlock who they are and make small pivots and be more productive, have better performance, have deeper level relationships with their kids, with themselves, have more empathy. That is how I'm leaning into my own full potential. And, I've been really blessed in 2019 and 2020, even through a pandemic, to continue to build my business and listen for those signposts and listen to where the universe is taking me, even though the stressors are still there, because my mindset's different. How I live my life is different. And so I live a much more holistic life. I became a Zumba instructor. Mm-hmm. I love to dance. I follow a more patterns of what I love to do, which makes me a better mom, a better wife, and a better CEO for my company.
Shelly's holistic lifestyle has certainly helped her achieve the personal and professional balance she needs at this point in time in her life and career. But what's also important here is that making a change like this, it can be scary and a little fearful. Fear often holds us back from going after the things we want.
Fear is such a huge topic, John. And from a career perspective, people are fearful that they're not good enough, that their voice is not going to be heard, that if they are, for example, women or BIPOC or underrepresented or marginalized, those fears are even amplified. And I work with so many women, for example, who are so fearful that they're going to go into a situation. Women in tech, for example, work mostly with men, and they've been in situations where their voice has not been heard. And so it's kind of like the fear of not pleasing someone, the fear of looking incompetent, the fear of loss of control, the fear of looking bad in front of others. It's when that fear is so painful, but the fear of not doing something different is outweighing that main thought. And fear really just is future events appearing real.
Future events appearing real. I love that. We may not be aware of how much fear we're dealing with when we're looking to take a bold step or play full out differently than we've ever done. I asked Shelly to give us an example of that.
I went to a conference and I didn't realize how much fear I had. They started talking about money, and I left a very lucrative, nice 6-figure income with Fortune 50 companies and started my own business and leveraging college fund, leveraging plans during COVID where you can put off your mortgage. I've never had to worry about things like that. And I had so much fear around how am I going to do this? I'm still the breadwinner. I have to financially grow my business, that I basically felt like I was ruining my leather couch through all the tears and the, if leather gets wet.
Yeah.
And so I have lived in that fear, but I know not to pinch a tent in that valley of despair, that I have more faith that outweighs that fear. But it's also that faith in myself and the faith and the courage that I am more than a survivor, that I have a lot of courage, and that people have seen that through my more personal and professional story. That when people, that's the kind of coach I am. I'm not a transactional coach. I go a lot deeper. I'm kind of like an executive career strategist and a little bit of a therapist, if you will, although I'm not a psychotherapist. You're dealing with very fearful things.
When people ask me to describe the difference between a therapist and a coach, I tell them that therapists take their clients from a dysfunctional state to a functioning state. And a coach takes their clients from a functioning state to an optimal state. As coaches, we help our clients break through various limiting beliefs or blocks that are holding them back from getting the success they want. And fear, it's a common emotion that holds all of us back. Our careers are not perfect, nor are they ever going to be. It's why I say our career paths are messy. But fear and perfection are strongly connected.
It's kind of like when I was teaching Spanish to English speakers and people were afraid to say something incorrectly. Well, who's the main judge on that? Other people they're just happy you're trying to speak their language.
Right.
Because people are perfectionists and expect things to be perfect before they will even try. Perfection is the thief of joy. Perfection is the thief of joy. And perfectionism brings more fear. Not doing something brings more fear. So fear just is stacked upon all of these negative thoughts. But when you lean into acceptance and faith, and I'm not talking from a religious standpoint here, I'm just talking about acceptance of where you are at.
Sure.
And maybe from a spiritual perspective, yes, that you learn so much through, but don't pitch a tent in that fear.
How good is that? Don't pitch a tent in that fear. As you think about what you may be fearful of heading into 2022, I asked Shelly to share her thoughts on how we can be more successful in this upcoming year.
John, there's a lot of ways we can take that. I honestly think that they need grit to come through the burnout and the stress, and grit to really have a very strong strategy and tactics in order to get where they want to go. Now, grit is not something everyone has. Mm-hmm. It's something that is internal, but you get into that deeper piece is the courage and the bravery and shutting up those negative thoughts so that they can amplify and be consistent with how they show up, how they speak, how they interview, and empathy for themselves as well.
As mid-career professionals, you care. You want the best for yourself, your loved ones, and your families. You care too much to not fully invest in figuring this whole professional journey out, whether it be getting a new job or how to increase your overall job satisfaction, be a better leader. What are you looking for in your career? It's kind of like that U2 song.
It's right there. People are always looking for things outside of themselves. And don't get me wrong, my own theme song for a very long time was I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For by U2. I had to go to Japan and Mexico and live all over the world to come back and find what I was looking for was right inside me. I just had to tap into it a little bit.
grit, courage, bravery, self-awareness, and self-discovery. Be aware of your brain and your thoughts to help you show up to be at your best. I asked Shelly to share her thoughts to help you build your mid-career GPS.
Really, it's quite simple. It's follow your gut, not your head. Your head's going to try to talk you out of things and sabotage and hijack you for safety. Follow your gut, because your gut always will lead you in the right direction. And if you feel like there's a boulder on you and you just hammer some things, like make that boulder into a pebble and just keep following your gut and following where you feel like your purpose is leading you, I think that there is no failure in that.
As we wrap up, I asked Shelly to share how you can connect with her and then come back for a few moments as I wrap up this episode.
So I am the CEO of Best You Career Advantage, and you can go to www.bestyoucareeradvantage.com. I'm also under Shelly, Chelle, Johnson on LinkedIn, and I have a Facebook page and also a LinkedIn page under Best You Career Advantage.
Great. I'll make sure they're all linked up in the show notes. Shelly Johnson, it was a pleasure talking with you today. Continued success. Keep up the great work in serving your clients. And I certainly look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you so much, John, and best of luck to you as well.
Shelly helped us spotlight our mental fitness and how we can use that to navigate various leadership and professional situations. It's about how we show up. Shelly's journey is inspiring, and going back to the beginning of this episode, amazing. I look forward to seeing her on The Amazing Race someday. Please visit the show notes to link up to all of today's resources that were mentioned in this episode. Go to Amazon.com to get a copy of my books, Your Mid-Career GPS, 4 Steps to Figuring Out What's Next, and Show Up, 6 Strategies to Lead a More Energetic and Impactful Career. Visit johnneral.com to download your free mid-career GPS resources and click on the link to join my private Facebook group to join a fantastic community of like-minded professionals who, like you, are all trying to figure out whatever is next. Don't forget to leave me that rating and review, but more importantly, know that I am beyond grateful for how much this podcast has grown because of people like you. Because you share it and talk about it with others, this podcast is gaining more and more traction. And I am so grateful that we are spreading the message together about navigating our mid-career journey more intentionally and gracefully as we figure out whatever is next. So my friends, remember, we build our mid-career GPSs 1 mile or 1 step at a time, and how we show up matters. Make it a great rest of your day.